I thought helping one desperate woman fix her broken-down car would cost me $50 in parts. I never imagined that by sunset, my small-town garage would be packed with Ferraris, Lamborghinis, and Mercedes, all because of who she really was. Before we dive in, tell us, where in the world are you watching from? If you enjoy stories like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button, because tomorrow's episode is truly mind-blowing. Let's get started. My name is Tobias Chen, and I own the greasiest, most honest auto repair shop in Millbrook, Pennsylvania. Population 3,847, where the biggest excitement usually comes from the annual Corn Festival. I'm 34 years old, single, and spending most of my days elbow deep in engine oil trying to keep my father's legacy alive. Chen's Auto Repair has been fixing broken dreams on wheels since 1987. When my dad first opened these bay doors with nothing but determination and a toolbox full of hope. The building itself tells our story. Faded blue paint peels from the exterior walls, and the neon sign flickers on the C in Chen's. But inside these walls, magic happens. Dad always said we don't just fix cars, we fix people's days, their weeks, sometimes their entire lives. I learned that lesson watching him work on Mrs. Patterson's ancient Buick every month, never charging her full price because he knew she was choosing between groceries and transportation. After Dad passed 2 years ago from cancer, I inherited more than just the garage. I inherited his reputation, his debts, and his unwavering belief that doing right by people matters more than profit margins. Some days I wonder if that philosophy will be what finally closes these doors for good. The chain auto shop across town offers faster service, cleaner waiting rooms, and corporate efficiency that I can't compete with on my shoestring budget. But this story isn't about me losing the garage. It's about the Tuesday morning that changed everything, when a woman I'd never seen before pulled up in a car worth more than my building, crying like her world was ending. Her name was Celeste Moreau, though I wouldn't learn the full weight of that name until much later. Picture this: expensive business suit, designer handbag, shoes that probably cost more than most people's rent, sitting in a white Tesla that looked like it just rolled off a showroom floor. Everything about her screamed money, success, the kind of life most of us in Millbrook only see in magazines. But money can't fix everything, and success means nothing when your child needs you and your car breaks down 50 miles from where you need to be. The steam rising from her hood told me her cooling system had failed catastrophically. The tears streaming down her face told me this wasn't just about a broken car. She needed help, real help, the kind that goes beyond turning wrenches and replacing parts. She needed someone to care about her problem as much as she did. I had no idea that woman would turn my struggling garage into the most successful independent auto shop in 3 counties. I had no idea she would bring an army of luxury car owners to my door, begging me to work on vehicles worth 6 figures. Most importantly, I had no idea that choosing compassion over profit would teach me the most valuable lesson my father never got the chance to share. This is the story of how one act of kindness created a ripple effect that changed not just my life, but the lives of everyone in my small town. It's about discovering that sometimes the people who look like they have everything are the ones who need help the most. And it's about learning that genuine goodness has a way of coming back to you when you least expect it, multiplied beyond anything you could imagine. By the end of this story, you'll understand why I still keep that faded business card Celeste handed me that day, and why every morning when I flip the sign from closed to open, I whisper the same words my father used to say: "Today we fix more than cars." That Tuesday morning started like any other disappointing day at Chen's Auto Repair. My alarm buzzed at 5:30 a.m. and I rolled out of the narrow cot I keep in the back office. Yeah, I sleep at the garage most nights now. Can't afford both rent on an apartment and keeping this place running. So the choice was easy. I made coffee with the ancient machine Dad bought in 1994, the one that sounds like a dying engine but somehow still brews the perfect cup. While it gurgled to life, I checked my cracked phone screen for the day's appointments. 2 oil changes. That's it. Mrs. Henderson's Honda at 10 a.m. and Jimmy Kowalski's pickup at 2 p.m. Together they'd bring in maybe $80, barely enough to cover the electricity bill. The numbers don't lie. And they've been telling the same ugly story for months. Since Speedy Lube opened their gleaming facility across town, my customer base has been shrinking faster than a punctured tire. They offer 15-minute oil changes, air fresheners, and a waiting room with free Wi-Fi. I offer honest work, fair prices, and coffee that could strip paint. My phone buzzed with a text from my sister Piper. She's 28. Works as a nurse at Millbrook General and worries about me constantly since Dad died. Toby. Please tell me you're eating real food and not just gas station burritos. Then another message. Also, the bank called me yesterday. Something about Dad's medical bills. We need to talk. I stared at Dad's framed photo on my workbench, the one where he's grinning under the hood of our first tow truck. His motto was painted on the wall behind his picture in faded red letters. Fix cars, fix lives. Easy to say when you're not watching everything he built slowly crumble. The garage felt hollow that morning. Too big for just one person rattling around inside. Every corner held memories of Dad teaching me about alternators and timing belts, about treating customers like family, about never taking advantage of someone's desperation. Those lessons felt like luxuries I couldn't afford anymore. I was seriously considering calling the real estate agent who'd left 3 voicemails about potential buyers when I heard it. Desperate honking from the street, the kind that says emergency, not road rage. Through my grimy front window, I saw something that didn't belong in Millbrook. A pristine white Tesla Model S sat at the edge of my parking lot, steam billowing from under its hood like a dragon breathing its last breath. The car probably cost more than I'd made in the past 2 years combined, but it wasn't the car that made me drop my coffee mug. It was the woman standing beside it, still in her designer business suit, waving her arms frantically and looking more desperate than anyone driving a $100,000 vehicle had any right to be. I wiped my hands on my coveralls and stepped outside to meet her. Up close, she looked even more out of place in my world. Everything about her screamed corporate success, from her perfectly styled hair to her leather briefcase. But her face told a different story. Her mascara had streaked down her cheeks, and her hands shook as she approached me. "Please, you have to help me," she said, her voice cracking with desperation. "My car just died and I need to get to Pittsburgh General Hospital. My daughter Autumn was in a car accident. They called 20 minutes ago and said she's in surgery and I need to get there now." The words tumbled out of her so fast I could barely keep up. This polished businesswoman was coming apart right in front of me, and suddenly the expensive car and designer clothes didn't matter. She was just a terrified mother who needed help. "Let me take a look," I said, popping the Tesla's hood. What I saw made my heart sink. The entire cooling system had failed catastrophically. Coolant was everywhere, and the temperature gauge was buried in the red zone. This wasn't a quick fix or a simple part replacement. This was a complete system rebuild that would take hours and cost serious money. "How bad is it?" she asked, already knowing from my expression that the news wasn't good. "Your cooling system is completely shot. I need to replace the radiator, water pump, hoses, and probably the thermostat. We're looking at 4 to 6 hours of work and about $400 in parts." Her face went white. She fumbled through her purse and pulled out a slim wallet, opening it to reveal exactly $35 in cash. "My credit cards aren't working," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I've been traveling for business and something's wrong with my bank account. My phone died an hour ago. I don't know anyone in this town." I stared at this broken woman standing in my parking lot, holding $35 like it might somehow multiply into 400. The rational part of my brain was doing the math. I was behind on 3 different bills, my business was dying, and I couldn't afford to work for free. But looking at her desperate face, all I could hear was Dad's voice echoing in my head. "Sometimes fixing lives costs more than fixing cars, son." That's when I made the decision that would change everything. "Ma'am, what's your name?" "Celeste," she whispered. "Celeste Moreau." "Well, Celeste, let's get your car fixed so you can get to your daughter." The moment those words left my mouth, I knew there was no turning back. Celeste's eyes widened in disbelief, fresh tears starting to flow, but these were different. These were tears of relief mixed with gratitude. "I can't let you do that," she protested. "You don't even know me. I could be lying about everything. Are you lying?" I asked, already walking toward my tool cabinet. "No, but then we're fixing your car." I pulled out my phone and called my parts supplier in Pittsburgh. "Yeah, the same city where her daughter was fighting for her life." "Hey Rick, it's Tobias. I need an emergency order. Tesla Model S cooling system, complete rebuild kit." The total came to $412, which I charged to my emergency credit card, the one I'd been saving for actual emergencies. Funny how helping a stranger suddenly felt like the most urgent emergency of my life. "The parts will be here by noon," I told Celeste. "But that still leaves you stranded for 4 hours while I work on your car." "You need to get to Pittsburgh now. That's when I did something that surprised even me. I walked over to my key rack and grabbed the keys to my 2018 Ford F-150. It wasn't much to look at, with its faded paint and a dent in the driver's side door from when I'd backed into a pole last winter. But it ran like a dream. "Take my truck," I said, holding out the keys. Celeste stared at the keys like I was offering her the crown jewels. "I can't take your truck. What if I don't bring it back? What if something happens to it?" "Then I guess I'll learn a valuable lesson about trusting strangers," I said. "But right now your daughter needs her mom more than I need my truck." She took the keys with trembling hands and asked for my business card. I handed her one of the worn cards from Dad's old holder, the corners soft from years of handling. She studied it carefully before slipping it into her purse. "Tobias Chen," she said, testing my name like she was memorizing it. "Chen's Auto Repair. That's right. And when you get back, your Tesla will be ready to take you and Autumn home safely." As she climbed into my truck and adjusted the seat, I called out, "Drive careful." "That truck's got more heart than horsepower." She nodded, started the engine, and drove off toward Pittsburgh, carrying my truck and a piece of my faith in humanity with her. 24 hours later, I was closing up the garage when I heard something that made me think I was hallucinating. The deep rumble of high-performance engines, not just one but several, growing louder as they approached my little shop on Maple Street. I stepped outside and my jaw dropped. A convoy of luxury cars was turning into my parking lot like some kind of automotive parade. A cherry red Ferrari 488 led the procession, followed by a midnight blue Lamborghini Aventador, a silver Mercedes AMG GT, and at least 6 other vehicles that belonged in Monaco, not Millbrook, Pennsylvania, every parking space filled with cars worth more than most people's houses. The engines shut off in sequence, creating an almost ceremonial silence, and then the doors started opening. Men and women in expensive suits stepped out, looking around my humble garage like they'd discovered a hidden treasure. That's when I saw her. Celeste emerged from the lead Ferrari, but she was completely transformed from the desperate woman I'd helped yesterday. Gone was the tearful, panicked mother. Standing before me was clearly a woman of serious power and influence, moving with the confident stride of someone accustomed to commanding boardrooms. "Ladies and gentlemen," she announced to the gathered crowd, her voice carrying the authority I should have recognized from the start. "I want you to meet Tobias Chen, the man who saved my life yesterday." The crowd of luxury car owners began applauding, and I stood there like an idiot, still holding a wrench and wearing oil-stained coveralls. Celeste walked directly to me, extending her hand with a smile that lit up her entire face. "Mr. Chen, I'd like to properly introduce myself. I'm Celeste Moreau, CEO of Moreau Luxury Auto Group. We own 37 dealerships across Pennsylvania, Ohio, and West Virginia." My brain struggled to process this information. The desperate woman with $35 was actually the CEO of one of the region's largest luxury car networks. "These are my top dealers," she continued, gesturing to the crowd, "and every single one of them has been looking for an independent mechanic they can trust with their most discerning customers' vehicles. Someone with integrity, skill, and the kind of character that can't be taught or bought." She paused, looking directly into my eyes. "Yesterday you proved you're exactly that person. You didn't know who I was, didn't ask for references or guarantees. You just helped a stranger because it was the right thing to do. What happened next changed everything I thought I knew about business, about people, and about the power of doing the right thing when nobody's watching." The luxury car owners weren't just there to shake hands and take photos. Each dealer had brought their most problematic vehicles, the ones that required the kind of meticulous attention that chain shops simply couldn't provide. Within an hour, I had appointments scheduled for the next 3 months straight. "High-end car owners don't just want their vehicles fixed," explained Marcus, the Ferrari dealer from Pittsburgh. "They want to trust the person holding the wrench. They want to know their $70,000 baby is in the hands of someone who cares as much as they do." That evening, after the convoy had departed, Celeste stayed behind to make me an offer that seemed too good to be real. Chen's Auto Repair would become the official independent service partner for Moreau Luxury Auto Group. I'd get referrals from all 37 dealerships, priority parts ordering, and technical support for the most sophisticated vehicles on the road. "There's just one condition," she said with a smile. "You have to promise me you'll never change who you are. Don't get a fancy waiting room or corporate uniforms. Don't start charging more just because you can. The reason this works is because you're authentic. 6 months later, I'm writing this story from the same cluttered office where I used to sleep on a cot, but everything else has transformed. I hired 3 full-time mechanics, including my sister Piper as the office manager. The appointment book stays full, and we're booked solid through the end of the year. Celeste's daughter Autumn made a complete recovery, and they both stopped by last week to see the new expansion we're adding to the garage. She's a spunky 14-year-old who wants to be a mechanical engineer, and I promised to teach her everything I know when she's old enough. The best part isn't the money or the success, though. It's the lesson that Dad tried to teach me all along, the one I finally understand. When you help people without expecting anything in return, when you choose compassion over profit, when you fix lives instead of just fixing cars, the universe has a way of returning that kindness multiplied beyond your wildest dreams. That faded business card Celeste tucked into her purse that desperate Tuesday morning now hangs framed on my office wall, right next to Dad's photo. Because sometimes the smallest acts of kindness create the biggest miracles.